I am thrilled to bring to my Rise Humanity audience a really wonderful lady today who has an incredible business. Now, I am into health and wellness, as everyone knows who watches this channel, and I love to find businesses that are really unique or really profound and are really making a difference. And I heard about your business, Lulu, through a friend who highly recommended it, and she went in, quite an explanation about what you were doing. And when I looked at your information on your website and all the things that you're doing, and also the wonderful successes that you've had that I've found out about, I realized that this is something really quite special that people can access. And it's also not something that you have to do in person. You can do it online, which makes it really accessible to so many people. And I myself am a major advocate for homeopathy. I believe it is probably the most powerful alternative therapy that we can use at this time. Probably well documented by the fact that Rockefeller, who started Big Pharma, he never saw a doctor apparently, but he had his own homeopath for his entire life. So I think that says something right there. I always remember that when I'm talking about homeopathy.
Yeah.
And I think that you are doing some wonderful things that can help a lot of people. So I wanted to be able to share with everyone a bit about yourself and a bit about, your wonderful business that has so many elements to it. So Lulu Langford is from Western Australia, and she has a business called Chrysalis Original. So I'd like to start, Lulu, by welcoming you and asking about perhaps your origins of how you got into health and wellness. I know that you mentioned that you've come from a long line of healers going back at least to the 1600s, which is amazing. So share away. I'd love to hear a little bit about you.
I will. I was a bit of a sickly child. My mum was a nurse. Long line again. I loved hospitals as a child. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a nurse. So I went off and decided I didn't want to go to university, became a nurse, and kept seeing gaps. When bad prognoses were given, I'd say, surely, what about herbal medicine? What about acupuncture? What about someone else? And I was always shut down. On my way up to a remote area nursing job in the Kimberley, I met a homeopath. And I actually was looking for a supplement at the time, and she was so adamant. She was like, no, you need homeopathy. And I was like, yeah, whatever, weirdo. And I went, did my job, worked in a beautiful hospital in the Kimberley, and I got to know some elders. And they started teaching me bush medicine, and I got very interested, began studying herbal medicine because there were no bush medicine courses at the time. Then I moved on to organic farming and gardening, met a doctor who was also a homeopath, and he was adamant I needed homeopathy, and I was like, yeah, whatever. Then I went to the UK when I was studying herbal medicine, and I went into a health shop in Sloane Square, and another homeopath said, I had allergies at the time, and she said, no, you need homeopathy. And I looked at the bottle and it said arsenic, and I was like, you're not giving me poison. And 2 doses and the allergies were gone. And I just thought, oh, that's my next course. So I studied homeopathy. I went on to study acupuncture and iridology and nutrition and a few other things. But homeopathy is here. And being a nurse, I will never let that go. Not because I necessarily agree with everything, but as a practitioner, I got to work back in hospitals, helping deliver babies, helping treat patients who were given a bad prognosis. And I still managed to pull the best of what I'd learned as a nurse. I still say nurses are the healers. not necessarily doctors. Some are, but it's the nursing. 99% of the work in a hospital is nurses, and
Wow.
they rarely get the credit for it.
They
So
don't get
I hung
paid.
on. Well, yeah, that too. And yeah, they never get credit. You know, a long shift. I remember doing a double shift once where I'd gone against the doctor's orders. This is a bit controversial. Um, and the patient survived. And the first thing they said when they woke up was, "Please thank the doctor." And I remember being so angry. And it wasn't just for myself, it was for the other girls on their feet. They were so tired and they'd done all the work. But yeah, anyway, that's another story. So yeah, I only realised much later that I was practicing integrative medicine before it was a thing.
I think it's fascinating how you said that the universe kept pushing you in the direction
Yeah,
of homeopathy. You kept getting all these signs and signals and
yeah,
synchronicities that was the direction for you to go. And I think that says a lot to people too, because people out there might be getting a similar thing happening to them, and they're maybe resisting. So that was fascinating. And your point about nurses being so dedicated and so important, and very, very caring, compassionate people, and they do
mm,
an incredible job. So hats off to the nurses out there. But I love the fact that you have brought all this together into a sort of a fully holistic approach to health. So um, integrative medicine, how would you define that exactly?
it's got a few different faces. If you come at it from a medical viewpoint, it's medicine. They may hear about a herb, or they may hear about cannabis, for example, and integrate that into their work. Whereas for me, integrative medicine is pulling the best of every modality. And if you don't know it, you pull in another practitioner that does. Don't just go off and take their modality and pretend that you know something about it. Um, it's so in depth, and my push my entire career, and we've come close, but we've always been thwarted, is to set up integrative hospitals where they exist. India, my daughter she's going back this year, worked in India with the Ayush system, where Ayurveda, acupuncture, homeopathy, herbal medicine, modern medicine, surgical, whatever, it's all found in a hospital. You
Mm,
know,
that's
you
magic.
have a round table choice. It's insane.
Yeah.
With my work now, with the new equipment that I've got, I can actually pull them all in. So I can put, for example, um, homeopathic medicine, make a homeopathic medicine from the frequency of a pharmaceutical, from a meridian or an acupuncture point, just about any substance. And you've got something called the imponderables, which are weightless remedies. So they might be X-ray, sunlight, moonlight, electricity, North and South Pole, and you can put them into a remedy. So everything, every therapy can be now put into a pill or a drop. That's insane.
I think some people would find it hard to wrap their head around how that works. Could you explain a little bit more how that works?
Radionics is the science. So it's all frequency. Everything's frequency. We're frequency. You learn in high school. Solid, liquid, gas. Everything's got a frequency, right? And the world at the moment is constructed on so many bad frequency, whether they're microwaves, whether they're certain types of electricity, even music, the sound that radios are set at, that TV, digital music is set at, is so destructive to health. If you can actually now, it's called imprinting, you can imprint the frequency of any substance into a medium, whether it's ethanol and water, whether it's the little homeopathic pilules, which a lot of people are familiar with, even a drink, even skincare. I actually zap all my skincare, body wash, hair. I try to keep it to tinctures, but you can actually make any medium homeopathic just based on frequencies.
It's incredible, isn't it? We're learning so much more about this now, the absolute importance of frequency, energy, all that sort of thing that, Tesla's a proponent of. So what is, you've called your business Chrysalis Original. So what is the significance of that name? Obviously, Chrysalis is to do with butterflies, and I myself love butterflies too. So please share with us what guided you to that name that's on this image behind me, Chrysalis Original.
One of my very first cases was chronically unwell and very, very against natural therapies. They'd been talked by their spouse into coming to see me, sat with their arms crossed, didn't want to listen to me. Those sorts of cases I don't always have a lot of hope for, but they usually tend to be my best cases. So this person absolutely thrived, and they said to me that they felt like a butterfly. And I'd always loved the word chrysalis. And I thought, okay, what if my imagery for my work is sickness? Just equate the chrysalis with being bound up and unwell. And then when you emerge into good health, you're the butterfly. So this was very, very early days of the internet. The only chrysalis business in existence at the time was Chrysalis Records in the UK.
Right.
So I applied for the name and it was fine. Great. No one else had done it in Australia. At one point, I closed my clinic down. Well, prior to closing my clinic down, the Remedies were sold all over Australia. And I had interest from overseas to export. And for personal reasons, I had to close everything up. And I took a hiatus to homeschool my girls and raise my twins, who I found out I was pregnant with during my divorce. So, yeah, it was a very exciting time. I let my registration lapse and everyone else decided that the Chrysalis name was a wonderful name. And there were so many Chrysalis businesses coming up, including Chrysalis Homeopathics, including a number of my remedies being copied.
Oh.
So, yeah, it was an interesting, very interesting time. And some of the businesses were larger than mine, so they could do it. And I changed my name. I went with quite a few different names. And then one day my son-in-law said, "You're Chrysalis." So I thought, okay, I'm hanging on to that. And I just put original afterward because I thought it was the original.
You were the original.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. And, Chrysalis, there is a sort of like a energy of the Christ energy in that word, isn't there?
Yes. Yeah.
Which I love as well, the Christ consciousness, which is unconditional love. Very beautiful. So, Lulu, what I love about your work is that not only is it available to everyone online, you do an analysis for people where they do a very comprehensive, very extensive write-up of their life and their health, and you analyze that and you come up with suggestions for remedies, and that is fantastic. So that's one thing that you offer, but you also have, as well as an eating plan, you have all these amazing homeopathic remedies for all sorts of things, including something that many people are concerned about at the moment, spike proteins. One catharsis, which it works against that. Then you've got just a whole range. So tell us a little bit about all the incredible range of I've never seen such an extensive range before for all sorts of issues. And I think that it's very clever because people are so individual and they all have individual needs, but you've got this whole range available for everyone. So please share with us just how wide this range is and all the things that you're offering there.
When I studied, I studied under an amazing guy called Simon Schott. So we came out as not only classical homeopaths, but also formulators, which not every homeopath gets to learn. I began practicing while I was still a student, and I worked with just simplexes, which you can buy from health shops and some pharmacies. then I realised that a lot of
Can
my
you tell
cases
people what
were
simplexes are, Lulu? What are
a,
simplex?
a, a simplex is one remedy,
Right.
and that is classical homeopathy. So you will be matched up. If you saw me or someone else face to face, they would send you away with something basic like sulfur or maybe calcar or something just to get you going, and then they would match up something called your similimum, which is your exact remedy. And that's a great science. It is, but most of my cases were all over Australia, some were overseas, so it was very, very time consuming and difficult. And then I realised, oh, thank you. Sometimes people would come to me. I might have 10 people in the same day with, the flu or headaches or whatever. Not everyone responds to the same simplex. So I started matching up synergistic remedies to complement each other and then testing which ones work best together. So if I sent the remedy out to someone, I could almost guarantee that that remedy was going to cover whatever they needed, regardless of, whether it's 5 or 10 people. If the remedies didn't work, I would go back to the drawing board and start again. I started out with 8 in the original kit, and then over the years, people would come to me with, I've got gout. What do you have for gout? Or I've got, candida, or period pain, or just something random. And I thought, how can I make it the best complex that would just no guesswork? So they're not going to go, oh well, that one didn't work. See me in 2 weeks. Here's another. I've never been. When my patients used to say to me, should I see you in 2 weeks? That would drive me crazy, because if I was fixing them properly, I was fixing them and they didn't need to come back. So that was my goal.
Yes, wonderful. So you've got essences, simplexes, complexes, herbals and minerals, treatments, so all these different things. And I just flicked through the simplexes, and it was so extensive in itself. But we haven't even covered the other ones, which are the essences, the complexes. Tell us a little bit about maybe the essences, and I'll go to that part of your website as well. The website again is chrysalisoriginal.com, and I'll just share this page here about the essences. Here we are.
The essences, I'm very excited about them. When I first studied, I didn't know much about essences. I studied Edward Bach's work, and I studied Australian bushflower essences, starting with WA bushflower essences. Yeah. And I'm not joking when I say life-changing. I remember going to a lecture and thinking, this is weird. I must say, I'm probably the world's greatest skeptic. So if I can embrace something like this, anyone can. I remember sitting in this lecture, and the guy said to me, what's your greatest emotional problem? And I had very bad OCD. And he just said straight away, Dampiera. And I held it up to my head. He said, don't take the tincture, just put the bottle on your head. And I thought, oh, yeah, okay. And he said, right, close your eyes for 60 seconds. I'll come back to you. Walked away. And I remember my eyes flickering, and I felt so agitated. And then all of a sudden I had this massive calm. And he goes, what's the first 2 words that come to your head? And I said, so what? And then I sort of shocked myself. And he goes, exactly. So what? So what if your house isn't perfect? So what if your hair's messy? So what if you haven't done everything? And I was so stunned. So I told him my daughter, I was breastfeeding at the time. I had my final exams coming up, and she would not let me out of her sight. And he goes, is she a twiner? And I was, what? And does she cling to you? And I went, yeah. And she goes, right, Lily Twiner, take the tincture home. I gave her 1 dose, no word of a lie. She waved me off at the door that night, and I went and did my exam. This is a child that would howl and scream and hurt herself just to get to me. So, yeah, I've seen the cases I've seen using bushflower essences, bark essences, and gem essences. That's the other. They work if you go into Germanic new medicine, every sickness has a trauma. So it has to have emotional trauma, physical trauma. There's no sickness without it. So if you start a treatment using a blend of the essences, then it undoes all the foundation, and then you can treat yourself with whichever remedy. It's
Oh,
amazing.
that's brilliant. I absolutely love it. And as we know, it's all natural. For people that don't know much about homeopathy, it's all natural, and there aren't side effects with homeopathy. That's correct, isn't it? So, people that don't know about homeopathy, they might think, oh, well, how does it have this incredible impact? But it's all done in such a sort of a subtle vibrational way that it doesn't
Very, very.
have anything negative that happens with it. It's incredible, homeopathy. And
Yeah, as far as, sorry?
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, the side effect, the side effect thing is, well, that's non-existent, other than if you take a remedy too long. Say you take something for a cold, right? And the symptoms disappear, and you think, oh, I might take a little bit more, take it longer. You can actually regress and re-trigger those symptoms. So it's not a side effect. It's just a healing crisis, and you pushed it too far. You can
Oh,
also take remedies with other medications; they don't clash.
yes, that's
So
brilliant.
that's vital.
Brilliant. So you have also, I love to share with people that you have complexes as well. I've got an
Hmm.
itchy nose. You've got complexes here.
You need peak.
um, and so these ones, again, such a comprehensive range for, skin sensitivity, eye defense, everything that, that you could need, really. You've covered so many things. Parasites, helix. Um, you've got breastfeeding lactation support, which is really important for babies. You've got mold and biofilm. So many great choices of things. But if people are not sure what to get, you do the analysis for them to help them be able to determine which are the ones that would be most beneficial for them at this time. And wow, look at all that range. It's incredible. And also the
There
other
is this.
I love too, Lulu, sorry, just before you say, I
Yeah,
love the fact that they are so affordable. Uh,
that's the thing. A lot of my very early patients were on Centrelink. They were pensioners. They couldn't afford it. In fact, at one point, I'd say about 80% of my patients were pensioners.
yeah.
Some were homeless. So I just thought, no, I've got to make it affordable. And so I charge by the mil. So 30 ml bottles are $30. The only difference is if you do a 100 ml bottle, that's reduced to $80, just to save a little bit more. And plus, if you buy a kit, that's reduced again.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah,
It's brilliant. I love that, Lulu. You've made it so that people can access it. And that's really important at this time because we all know that the economy is going for a dive as we go into a new energy. How can homeopathy support this new earth that we're going into as well? We're all transitioning in a lot of
mm,
different ways into a different world, really.
yeah.
So what would you recommend for people to take in terms of homeopathy for that, or the simplexes or the essences?
Definitely the essences, because I find there's quite a lot of doubt, confusion, pushback. There are essences for not wanting to change, not wanting to embrace change. That's really important.
Yes.
Fear Pacific, that's based on the old rescue remedy, but it's got extra essences in it.
Oh, that
Uh,
that is just an essential one to have in your purse. For like, say you got bad news about someone, um,
mm,
and there are a lot of people having reactions, as we know, to what has been given. So we're hearing things like that about people around us. When you hear that, if you've got the rescue remedy, it's a really important support for shock or for for
yeah,
for those sort of situations, and all sorts of things. It's always good to have those
I
in.
could write a book on that one.
Yeah, yeah, huge. absolutely huge. Can you give me an example maybe of one of the one of these clients that you've had that's had the most amazing, I mean, I know you've given a few already, but another one that's had an amazing impact from the work that you do specifically?
Um, to make it easier, maybe choose a remedy. It's just too many. I'm
Sure,
not lying.
sure, absolutely. Well, what about if we chose a remedy? So I'll bring up a remedy on the screen. I'll just pick
Oh,
a
do you want
random
do you
one.
want to go with Pacific?
Okay, is that a complex or
Yeah, that's the one based on Rescue Remedy, and then it's built up with other
okay?
elements.
Okay, so I'll just bring that up on the screen to show people so that they can see what we're talking about. Um, Here it is. Oh, sorry, share. Here it is, right. So this one is called again oops, it's a simplex. Is it, no, sorry,
No, it's a complex.
and
Yeah,
what's the name of it?
Pacific,
Pacific. So
like the ocean.
okay, Pacific. Here
There
it
we
is.
go.
Okay, Rescue Remedy
Yeah.
Plus. Right, perfect.
Oh my goodness. So many. From a lady who had lost two family members and in a short period of time, and she'd come into the health shop to buy, because I used to advise at a health shop. She'd come in to buy another bottle. She was off on a world cruise, and I was like in my head, "Where's your grief?" And she just looked at me, and I could see it. You could see it with her eyes, and she goes, "Every time it becomes overwhelming, I just take another dose." And she was amazing. She was like 76 or something. Another one was a baby who, whenever that visitors came into the house, she would have a tantrum, self-harm, throw herself at sharp corners, scream and scream and scream and scream until she just went to sleep. And I was like, what's happening when there's visitors? Unbeknownst to the parents, she was being given Coca-Cola and snacks that she wouldn't have normally had in the house, and she was reacting to it, which is so common. I mean, I won't say it causes ADHD, but it can cause episodes. It can cause hyperactivity. As she got older, because she's still a patient, she said that she wanted to tear her skin off, or wanted to get out of her body. The first dose of Pacific, they counted down 13 minutes until she was, "Oh, I love you," and very, very calm. And then each time she was on the verge of getting like that again, they'd give her a dose, and the duration got smaller and smaller. So literally, and some people could say placebo, mind over matter, or whatever, but I've treated animals, I've treated babies in utero, I've treated comatose patients. You can't trick them. But she would have a dose, and literally within minutes she would be a calm, happy child, to the point where she'd say, "Can I have my medicine, please?" Because she could feel herself spiraling.
Wow. It doesn't suppress what's happening. So
No,
tell people how that works because they might think, oh, is it just pushing the symptoms? Is it pushing
no,
it down?
yeah,
Explain how that works.
yeah. That's my big thing. I'm not against all pharmaceuticals. No, no way in the world. Like, if you need pain relief, you need it. If you need an antihistamine, you need it. But they do all suppress symptoms, and they all have side effects. With homeopathy, the easiest way to explain it, and there is a lot of research out there now, and it gets so molecular, is back to the frequency. If you've got a very agitated state or a very acute symptom, that's a very high frequency. If you've got chronic, ongoing, sluggish, close to death sort of symptoms, they're very low frequency. You get a homeopathic medicine, and it'll be somewhere in between. And what it does, it brings your frequency back to homeostasis. So very similar to homeopathy. It will change your frequency to the middle where it's meant to be. So it's just frequency. It just balances things out.
I love that. And it's just 5 drops under the tongue, easy as that.
Yeah.
It's not hard. And I love too that we have also on offer on your website animal care. And that's so important at the
Yeah.
moment as well. So animals, I'm
It
sure,
really is.
respond extremely well to homeopathy too, because they haven't got the same blocks that I think
Yeah,
people
yeah.
have. Yeah.
It's I love working with animals. That's another thing. I could fill a book on the, because we're also wildlife carers, my family and I.
Oh,
Oh,
beautiful.
the cases. I remember there was a horse breeder had called me in the middle of the night. He couldn't get hold of the vet, and his horses had eaten a balga plant, the native plant,
A
and they're very
poisonous?
toxic to horses.
Ah,
Yeah, so they'd eaten the heart out of it, and two had died, and two were collapsed. And he said, "Please come over. Like, I'd heard about you. Can you come over?" So I drove over again, not expecting much. Gave what is now stasis. Gave the 5 drops to the horse, because it doesn't matter whether you're large. It's more to do with whether you're big, small, or tiny. 5 drops. And before I got there, the second one had died, and the horse was flat on the ground. I administered the drops, and I waited around. By the time I left, the horse was standing, and he called me in the morning, and it was running around. He said there were no, because sometimes they get neurological signs. It's
wow. Well,
just
that's
crazy.
brilliant. When the other ones had died, I have my drops here too. I'd like to show people. Stasis. What does the stasis one do exactly? I'm not 100% clear on that one. The stasis.
Nasus. Um, I don't like the word antidote. I don't like the antivenin or anything like that. It works the opposite. So if you've got some level of toxicity in the body, you take stasis and it will draw it out.
Oh, that's wonderful. What about nosode? Nosode? What's that one for?
Nosode is more specialized. It's a much higher dose of tissues. So it might be bacteria, it might be any tissue of the body. In those, mostly it's what's called the bowel nosodes, or the pathogenic nosodes. So it balances out your gut, it balances out pathogens. We're full of pathogens. We're 90% by weight pathogenic, whether it's parasites, bacteria, whatever. We shouldn't be taking all these things to sterilize ourselves, because it's killing off the good ones as well, and we need those. Most of them are good. So what that does is the no-sode remedy brings about a balance of all the pathogens in the body. Really important in cases like chronic illness, IBS, autism, autoimmune disorders, anything where the body is just functioning the opposite of what it should be.
Well, Lulu, you're such a wealth of information and knowledge. It's so great to chat to you. I'd love to do another one again soon. So if people have any questions for you, maybe they could drop them in the comment box below, and I can do
Oh, how
a
do I
follow
find
up.
that?
Oh, when I post the video, so I'm
Oh,
gonna post it on YouTube, that they could put comments below, questions that you'd like to ask Lulu, or you can
yeah.
email me as well, and I can ask Lulu, and we'll do another follow up chat as well, because there's just so much we can talk about to do with all this. So I just want to say thank you for everything that you're doing. You're doing an amazing job, and I don't think that you can give enough praise to homeopathy and the effects, the impacts it has on the human body. So thank you, Lulu. Is there anything that you'd like to say just to finish?
The herbals are a little bit different to the regular homeopathic medicine. They're still based on herbals, but they're energized like a homeopathic medicine. So you only need a tiny dose instead of 25 drops or whatever. So they work just as well, but very, very quickly and with a smaller dose.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Lulu. We'll chat again really
Thank
soon,
you.
and love chatting with you today. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. See
Bye.
ya.